we're trying to be legendary discoverers, and we're focused on copper, nickel, and gold in South America. Recently, we all changed our slogan to building a world-class South American exploration company.
The Financial Survival Network. Now more than ever. The Financial Survival Network.
Welcome to Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz, your host, and we are having the pleasure of sitting down with Ivan Bebic, co-founder, president, CEO of Coppernico Metals. You know them formerly known as Sombrero Resources. We wanted to bring you the latest sponsor update. And, well, as you're probably aware, Sombrero, now Coppernico, was a spinoff from Orin Resources. So if you held shares in Orin at that time, you are a Coppernico shareholder like I am. And Ivan, thanks for coming on. You know, in any business, but especially in the junior mining sector, names are extremely important. And we always like to see a name that really shows what the company's doing, which this one obviously does.
Absolutely. And, we made a name change here back in the late fall. We haven't done an interview for some time, and we wanted to be more respectful to the additional opportunities we brought into Sombrero besides Sombrero. And that was with the acquisition of Tucana, which has not only big copper gold targets, it also has a major nickel target in the southern portion of the claims. And so Coppernico plays off the words copper and nickel. It's also derived from Copernicus, who is the legendary discoverer that the planets revolved around the sun versus the sun revolving around the planets. And for us, we're trying to be legendary discoverers, and we're focused on copper, nickel, and gold in South America. Recently, we all changed our slogan to building a world-class South American exploration company. And this is important because it's taken time to bring Coppernico to market, and I'm sure we'll get into that today. We are looking to do a lot more, and time is expensive when you wait for great things to happen, but it can also be used very intelligently to add more opportunities for shareholders. And being a major shareholder and thinking like a shareholder, that's exactly what we've done here. And so we've sent our team as of last week down to South America to review some major assets that, compare in terms of interest and opportunity as what we're seeing in Sombrero and Tucana. And the goal here, Kerry, would be to bring in another asset or two in South America, would mitigate waiting or delays that could be foreseen on certain projects and give us that pipeline of discovery to make in a very opportunistic time to be acquiring things before the market really heats up. And the driver being, we see the demand for copper increasing over time, and supply, continues to suffer. And we think that that gap is going to be bigger as we go. The same with nickel, and we see a tremendous market in gold. So being a bull on the metals, we're kind of looking at how many ways can we capitalize with Coppernico? How can we raise the bar to make the wait for shareholders a lot more worthwhile than what's already a spectacular endeavor in terms of what Sombrero could be? And that being said, do we split the company if we find multiple discoveries, or what do we do? I think you have to look at what we did with Fury and our homestake transaction, which has worked out phenomenally for Fury, in that we would likely monetize one of the non-core assets on our way to chasing the biggest asset in the portfolio. And so is to create something bigger and to give more opportunity for shareholders, more exposure to those world-class discoveries that we've set out to go get. And then that's what we're here for. So that's why the name change, that's the path forward, slight modification in our plan. And it all ties together with our path to listing and everything else that we're going to talk about today.
Right. And you mentioned team going down to South America. One of your strengths, I think, as a leader in this industry is your ability to take people from all over the world, basically, and mold them into a team that really can accomplish things. You've got some new personnel, several people you've added. What's the plan behind it?
We recently added a director, a VP of exploration, and a manager of investor relations in an effort to prepare to be publicly listed soon. A team is everything, as you know, and, a huge proponent of our industry is the environmental, social, governance, the ESG efforts that we're currently making, which are leading South America as a junior with what we've been doing at Sombrero. And we plan to expand on that. And Marie-Hélène comes with over 20 years. She's been part of the commissioning of mines in Panama, Guatemala. She has incredible South American experience and is really going to enhance our social footprint as well as our environmental footprint so that we can maintain being, as perfect citizens as we can be. So we have those longstanding, great social relationships with the communities we impact. Tim Kingsley, VP of Exploration, we had a spot in the group as we expanded Orin into 3 companies. Tim comes to us with a track record at pretty impressive companies, one of them being Trevally of note. He's been part of some great discoveries. And when you look at adding a VP of Exploration, you have to look at, the geologists in our group, such as Michael Henriksen and company, will evaluate them technically, and I rely on them for that. But for me, it was sitting down with Tim for the first time, and he looked me in the eyes and said, "You know what, Ivan? I'm not here to drill 50-meter step outs. I want to drill 500-meter to 1,000-meter step outs and go find something really big." And that's where we hit it off right to the start. And we'll get him on the show here in due course. But, that desire takes a lot of confidence in your abilities, and it takes a lot of ambition, to go swing like that and go swing big. And that's what we're after with Coppernico, to go make that major discovery. So he fits really well with Sombrero and Tacana. And right now he's in South America looking at a few assets that we may acquire before we come to list. And I can assure you, Kerry, they're all of the similar kind of scale and size as what we see at Sombrero. So very exciting on that front. And lastly, but most importantly, manager of investor relations, Margaux Villalpando. She is somebody I've worked with for a year prior. She had experience in the marketing, leading or supporting the finance team for mining at CIBC prior to working with me at Orin. And now we've promoted her into the role. So somebody with incredible ability to do her role and quick study, hardest working person in the company. And so she fits the culture perfectly. And this is important. It may not seem important to add people and to build the teams out, but it is how we succeed. And it's how we're going to make the best path forward for our shareholders to go make these major discoveries and monetize them as we get ready to do that.
Right. And you mentioned delays with community access. I know that everything takes longer than you think, but can you give us an update on that?
Sure. So there's been some feedback. People are curious what the delays are. Why do you need access? How does that work? And we've had access previously at Sombrero. How it works, to be listed publicly, on an exchange, you need to be able to work on your project. And we don't have opposition. We just have very slow negotiations that are not in our direct control. Generally, when you have something as big of a prize in front of you as we do with Sombrero, there's going to be a path there that's going to take time to get there. And we've spent time really intelligently, and we've taken the slow route because it's the only way to get a long-term sustainable relationship. We have made a lot of progress in the last 18 months, and we thought this would have gone a lot quicker and we would be trading in the first quarter of last year, but we're not. And the progress we've made, the other communities or both communities, we've set out to do these agricultural programs totaling about nearly $4 million worth. And those programs have finally started to get approved by the government. So the first programs worth about 300 to 350,000 US have been approved by the government. The money has not crossed the line yet to the communities, but it's on its way. So everything we've set out to do, all the promises we made to the communities, they're coming together. And right now we've paused until we get access before we continue with the rest of those programs. But we have meetings coming up in the next few weeks to see if we can get through this access and resume work at Sombrero and get listed. So we don't know how long it's going to take, but we do think it's progressed considerably well. There is major advancements being made, and we are quite close to hopefully a very positive resolution for both sides.
Right. Well, it sounds complicated. You're dealing with a lot of different groups, I guess, within these communities, and they all have their own interests, and you have to kind of make everybody happy, right?
Yeah, I think complicated is anything socially is definitely complicated. And I think that for us, we could blame politics, we could blame COVID. There's been, we're new. They haven't had a mining company here before. And, we're a bit of a trendsetter in an area that's been overlooked and no one's really, explored to any significant extent. I think that there's a lot of opportunity for these communities to shape the rest of their lives and decades to come. And they want to make sure they do it right. And we want to make sure they're comfortable with how we're doing it. And Kerry, we've taken the most aggressive approach in the most positive way possible of any community for an exploration company at this stage in South America. And that's the best we can do. And I certainly believe that they're starting to recognize the opportunity. And I think it's welcome. And they're seeing, impacts from what we've been doing, starting together with these programs that we're getting achieved for them. So it's going well. I wish we were trading a year and a half ago. I wish we were drilling a year and a half ago. We're not. But as I said earlier in this interview, we're going to add more. And we're going to come out with a much more aggressive opportunity for shareholders across multiple assets. And we're going to mitigate the risk of any further delays by having additional assets in the company that can drive us forward if we have to wait longer on Sombrero or Tucana, these things to come through.
Well, I guess what you're encountering is really the price of thinking big, isn't it?
Well, you know what? If it was any easier, Kerry, we wouldn't have this opportunity. And when we categorize this opportunity, to remind everybody, we're comparing an analog to the 9th largest copper mine in the world. That's not far away from Sombrero, and that's very big. That's the kind of asset you dream about or you hear about in many other or very few other companies over your career. And we have one of those in hand, and possibly a few more with Tucana, what we might be acquiring. I think from the perspective of waiting, our mandate is to list this summer. And so mid-year, we can't set our watch to when we're going to list. It's not directly in our control. However, we've done all the exchange required factors. We will come up to a financing before listing. We have a lot of interested parties to fund us. We're a little reluctant to go out and do a raise until we get more clarity with the communities and possibly another asset or two to control, the potential value that could be the financing could be priced at. So for us, we want to make sure we're getting very fair market value. And so at some point between now and the end of June, we'll do a raise for the company prior to listing it. And we're targeting the listing to be on the Toronto Stock Exchange versus the Venture Exchange to start.
And I think for many of you shareholders out there, you probably don't appreciate how big this Sombrero project is and its full potential.
Yes, and that's going to give all the waiting shareholders a lot more anxiety about or frustration about it not being trading. But look, my first investment, Kerry, was in a company called African Minerals in 1995. This was a Robert Friedland company. I was in a car accident in high school and I bought my first mining stock. It took 17 years to go public. And it's a spectacular multi-billion-dollar company today known as Ivanhoe Mines. And he had an incredible project that he groomed. I don't plan to wait 17 years here, anywhere near that. I plan to be active with our company and working and drilling a project before year end, whether it's Sombrero or Sombrero's coming online on the backstop of that. So, time is money. We want this to trade sooner than later. And what I'm really excited about is these other opportunities that we can bring in to add to the equation and the bigger plan that we can take and approach to offer so much more for shareholders.
Right. So right now there's 2 projects, but there could be more coming down the pike.
Absolutely. And that would be the goal, to have 3 or 4 and, monetize them and use that monetization to self-finance and possibly, or to create, dividend scenarios on the successes that could be had. The portfolio in this case in point works really well when you have such a big anchor like Sombrero. We could end up self-financing through, monetizing some of these assets that we plan to acquire. But, for us, the quality of what we're looking at is up there. It's world-class, and that's what's important.
Right. So insofar as financing goes, that's kind of in abeyance right now.
Yeah, it's there's no rush on our end. We have capital through the end of July into August, and so we'll likely do a raise sometime in June. And again, there's been a lot of interest. We get a lot of incoming emails of people who want to participate. Prior to doing the raise, prior to coming to market, there will be a full court press from us to really showcase the opportunities, the timelines, the pathways that we're going to take with this company as we bring it back to market. And again, not only listing midsummer, but being able to drill before year end is a mandate, and to drill something of substance or substantial kind of opportunity, right? Sombrero could come pretty quick. If the meetings turn positive here, it could happen at any time. The next meetings are the end of April and by mid-May in the two communities we're working with. So we'll see how that goes, and we'll report back to shareholders as soon as we have concrete material path forward.
Well, like you said, you've told me numerous times, Ivan, if it was so easy, anybody could do it, right?
Yeah, this opportunity wouldn't be in front of us if it was that easy. And I will also say it as a major shareholder, it's definitely going to be worth the wait in terms of what we're doing here. And I know that's a very tall ask, but we are extremely excited internally. And pretty soon, once we get a little bit further down the road, everybody will see why, and we can plug ahead.
All right, excellent. Anything else we should know about at this point?
No, just hurry up and wait for another month or so here, and look forward to a lot more updates from us on the back of these community meetings. We'll see how they go, and possibly some pretty substantial acquisitions that could definitely raise the investor profile here as we move forward to market.
All right, and raise the bar. Hey, 35 years as an attorney, I'm used to hurry up and wait. In the meantime, there are no ticker symbols to give you, but you can always go over to CoppernicoMetals.com, sign up for the notifications. You'll find out about the listing, all the progress the company's making. Ivan, thanks so much, and we'll follow up again soon.
Thank you very much. We look forward to it.
The Financial Survival Network.